We're on the set of our new short film here. It's called Scapegoat. And currently one of the goats has gotten off his leash and is escaping. So we may need to change the title to Scapegoat. Anyways, here we go.
Panele!
Hey, come here. No. Scapegoat coming soon.
We wanted a real African voice. We wanted an African film that told an African story. And we wanted it to be entertaining. And so we settled on the whole comedy genre quite early in the creative process.
So our process kind of started with four of us sitting around a table and throwing around ideas and trying to come up with something that was quite unique and quite African. And setting our story in the township, but also bringing in an American character. So there was a whole clash of cultures and languages and all sorts of interesting things going on. And we were really keen to bring in an animal into the story. And initially we started thinking in terms of a cow. But I sort of felt that a cow would be a little bit difficult to achieve, and also a goat would provide a little bit more comedy.
We thought we'd grab a goat, everything would go according to plan, but when you have animals on set, that's not always the case.
No animals. Just stick to the rule, no animals. But no, we have to have a goat as our main actor. No animals.
At some points the goats would just go nuts, they'd run away and we'd have the whole crew chasing after them, cast and crew. I think the one time we needed something like 7 guys just to capture this goat.
For the past couple of years, I've been building friendships with some of my good friends who live in the townships of Cape Town. And so they're all amped on making movies, and every time we need to film a movie in a township, we've kind of got a whole infrastructure of about 30 guys who can act and can kind of be available on camera.
Our co-producer Neville, the film wouldn't have been possible without him.
He's just really good at organizing people, and in the township, it's really easy to walk down the road and just grab somebody and be like, hey, come and be in our film.
So we are taking guys off the street, literally. We'll see, hey, that guy has a good look. Let's use him, or let's use her. That's how we got most of the characters that you see in the film.
It was just amazing to see the heart of the people in the township, the willingness and the eagerness to help and to be a part of it. And within all of that, and with all of that chaos, we found somehow that we all just worked together, and what came out of all of that chaos is a comedy.
Kobe is a young, naive American, probably just out of college, and he's sort of touring the world, and the idea we had was he's just sort of landed in Africa, picked up a rental car, and he's just driving through the bush. And that's where we pick up the story. It was very rushed, it was all made in about 7 days. On the edge of your seat the whole time, trying to figure things out. I remember I basically just figured the character out as we went, or I made it up as we went along. Like every day it was like, build on something new, add a new expression to him. It was just kind of, I didn't have a plan going into it. The guy who plays Caesar, we call him Zama as his nickname. He's a fantastic actor, he really is. He worked in another movie that some guys worked on last year called Ibalaclava. He played the main guy in that, and he's just super talented. I think he's got the potential to go a long way. He is just a second-time actor, lives in Dunoon Township where we shot it, and he's a very promising young guy, and I'm very, very stoked with what he's doing at the moment.
Man, we gotta get it to a vet or something. It's my goat, and it's dead.
Finding a goat in the township was actually a lot harder than one would think. Fluffy, the small little cute goat that everyone notices throughout the film. But then there was the first goat that we had, this behemoth that we actually nicknamed Demon Goat, because this thing was mad. This thing was on a mission to kill us. In the night scene with Kobe and Sizwe around the campfire, and that's actually this big goat. And you'll notice, if you look very closely, we had to actually restrain the goat during that scene. Otherwise, it was just gonna try to kill Carl. And we actually had our goat wrangler, the Rasta that you see early in the film, holding the goat's horns, hiding behind the log and holding it through each take.
When me and Caesar were by the campfire, the firelight was meant to light us, and the fire was dying. It was wet. We didn't have enough twigs and leaves to get the thing going again.
We actually had to resort to burning our scripts in the fire. So we'd throw the piece of script in right before we were supposed to roll, just to get enough light to light up the faces. We'd roll and quickly do the take before the script burns.
I think I like it.
No, we're using the script to light the scene.
It's a good script.
Shooting in a township is quite crazy. There's a lot of unpredictability about it. Very often when you're doing a take, a cow will literally just walk across your camera. There'll be a chicken that flies past. There'll be a little goat that nibbles on somebody's foot. It's quite often a bit like a zoo over there, and you have to kind of just get used to it and roll with the punches.
So as a director, it was a real challenge because I couldn't speak the local language. And our actor Frank, I mean, he'd never been in front of a camera before, so he didn't really grasp the whole process in the beginning. But one of his wives was there, and she could speak perfect English, and she could understand my direction. So I would direct her, and she would direct him, and then he'd deliver his lines. It was a real challenge. So having to sort of put guys through the process of teaching them how to respond to the camera, not to look at the lens, the basics of acting within a few minutes before they actually have to do a scene. We had an amazing crew and cast. I mean, the conditions weren't ideal. We had rain, we had the cold, we had people that were sick, and we were, wading through sewage and garbage. The crew really just had an awesome attitude and just pushed through and made it happen.
The township is not a very quiet place. It's filled with a lot of chaos in the background and noises, and it was quite challenging to stay focused and to get a clear sound from the actors' voices.
A great challenge of this process was that we had a very limited amount of time to complete the film. So one of the things that we did to maximize the amount of time we had for post-production was that as the film was being shot in the township, I was based in Neville's house, and I was busy cutting scenes as they were being shot. So that by the time we finished shooting, roughly half the film had kind of been assembled in a rough cut form, so that the last 3 days of the process we sort of had to refine and to tweak and to just make sure that the film was as good as it could be.
One of the coolest sort of spur of the moment things that happened in the film was actually the soundtrack.
Often when you get together, you put a bunch of creative people into a room, things start to get created. So we made the film, and while we were busy editing the movie, I started messing around on some music, and John, on the other side of the room, he's like, dude, I've got a song. And he basically had a little bit of a melody going, dun 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 dun, and he started taking sounds out of the movie and chucked them onto this thing, and we had like a little 30-second roll of music.
And then when Howard heard this, he loved it, and he actually took it from there to the townships.
I had about half an hour, and I ran into my one friend's house, Trigger, and I said, Trigger, can you just rap for me on here right now? I was like, doesn't matter what it is, just rap. If you need to make it about a goat. And so he's like, cool. So he just starts rapping about a goat, and there's 2 other guys in the studio with him. By studio, I mean tiny little house in the township where there's like half a room, and the guys were there recording it. And literally half an hour later, we had a little song.
Tell the Africans where we go, had to seize where me and my thoughts on the blacksmith country.
Many times we just stop and think, what the heck are we doing? Nobody's gonna get this. Nobody's gonna understand this. Nobody's really gonna take to it. And we were wrong. People loved it, and I think it's because it's so unique. It's so different. It was refreshing. We had a lot of guys coming up to us at the festival afterwards, just saying that was a breath of fresh air. It was great. Thank you so much for doing that. So here you have guys that have never been in a film before, never been near a set before, in a film that's played at a festival in Hollywood. It gives the community sort of hope and something to strive for. And I think that's one of the biggest accomplishments, to say, we can make from this film, is that we've given guys a hope for something bigger, a hope for something better.
It's Fluffy! Hey, Billabong!
Fluffy, I'll definitely work with Fluffy again in the future. I look forward to that. He taught me a few things of being patient and sort of working like hard hours without catering and without being fed. And yeah, he's such an awesome little goat, you know, an example for all goats out there. And then the opposite would be Demon Goat, that completely almost made me pack up my batteries and sound equipment the first night.
I'm crossed over, bro. I'm crossed over.